He has become synonymous with all things UFC. He is a part of the fabric, the DNA of the UFC. I am afraid to think of a UFC without him. People have come and gone, owners have come and gone, fighters have come and gone, broadcasters have come and gone, but he has been a constant since February 16th, 1996. Yes, UFC 8 in Puerto Rico, the first show outside of the continental United States. He was there back then, relatively unknown. There's the poster, and 29 years later, Bruce Buffer is still doing his thing and more popular and better than ever. He's kind enough to join us right now to reminisce and celebrate this incredible milestone. There he is. It's time. I'm sure you never heard that before.
This is truly the moment I have been waiting for. Hi, Ariel.
Hello, Bruce. How are you? Congratulations on 29 years. I heard about that, and I said we had to have you on. So thank you for the time. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on the show and to celebrate my 29th anniversary with you. I got to tell you, Ariel, time flies. That's all I can say. Time flies.
Okay, you see that young man, you see that poster, you hear about the 16th of February, 1996. What are the emotions? What are the thoughts that come through your mind?
You know, the emotions are very strong because I'm a fan first and an announcer second. And I wake up every day, every morning with UFC written on my chest and my feet hit the ground. And I'm so humbled and honored by the fact that I get to do what I do, being, you know, what they call the voice of the octagon. I always say the show's not about me. It's about the fighters. It's about the fans. And I get to do my role in enhancing those moments for the fighter and the fans as much as I can. And every night I walk out, Ariel, the other week was in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, which was amazing. I love Sydney. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, favorite countries in the world. But every night I walk out, like this coming Saturday when I step out of Seattle, for 29 years, my attitude is, it's my very first night. I have to prove to myself, to the powers that be, to the fans, to the fighters, to Dana White, that I deserve to step into this octagon. So I bring every bit of passion, every bit of lung power, every bit of energy, everything I have to enhance that moment for the fighters and the fans. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm having a great time.
And you still feel that pressure? You still feel that anxiety before? I mean, 29 years, I think you've proven yourself.
It's not anxiety. It's more like adrenaline. It's more like a rush. You know, it's just the excitement. It's, you know, I always say, if you can find out what you're truly passionate about in life and you can monetize it, then you're not going to work, you're living a lifestyle. Now, I do a lot more than just my role as the octagon announcer in my business world, but this is the base of everything that I work from outside of the management of my legendary brother, Michael Buffer, of Let's Get Ready to Rumble fame. And I just take great pride in it. And I maintain that passion. And quite frankly, Ariel, you know, I'm 67 now, and I've been doing this for 29 years. Mentally, physically, I keep myself in shape, ready to go. And I plan on doing this as long as I can. You know, it's, as long as I can do it in the way I like to do it. If I have to walk out and stand center stage and stay still and just go like this, that's not going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to announce the way I want to announce. Otherwise, it's time for me to say goodbye, and somebody else can step in and do the thing.
What do you remember about that night? Like, what are the any behind the scenes stories? You know, those were the embryonic days of the UFC, right? The SEG era, just the eighth show. Who knew what was going to become of this thing called the UFC? But when you take yourself back to that night, that weekend in Puerto Rico, what are some of the stories that come to mind?
Well, it first came about, you know, in around 1990. I was kickboxing a lot back then, and there was a famous director named John Milius. Did Red Dawn, Conan the Barbarian. All he's a buddy of mine, and he said, "You got to come train with me in Torrance at a dojo. It's jujitsu." I go, "I've trained jujitsu, you know, some jujitsu." He goes, "Well, you never trained Gracie jujitsu." And I remember that I went to the dojo, and out came this young, thin kid. Said, "Hi, my name is Hoyce. Come with me." And he took me into one of his dojo rooms, closed the door, you know, all padded up and everything. Good, a beautiful jujitsu dojo. And he said, "Let's go at it," right? So we went at it, and he got underneath my punches and took me to the ground. And about, I would say, 45 seconds later or whatever, he had me in a side choke, and he's choking me out, and he goes, "Tap, tap, tap." And I'll never forget it. He gets up in the after I tapped, he gets up in the guard, straightens out his gi, he looks at me, goes, "See, isn't it nice not to get hit in the face?" Now that was my first meeting with Hoist. And then 3 years later, watching UFC 1, he's walking out with his arms on the back of his brothers, you know, as he's walking out to the octagon. And I said to my family and friends watching, I said, "See this skinny kid right here? He's going to beat everybody." And lo and behold, he did. So that was my first experience with the UFC. And then I went to UFC 6 in Casper, Wyoming. And I had my brother Michael announce the first one, and that was the debut of Tank Abbott. And I knew that was my world the moment I saw it. And I had my brother announce 3 of the UFCs, and then I had to pull him because the WCW wrestling he was involved with got so big, and we only had a 3-fight contract. And during that time in UFC 6, we were having dinner with Robert Meyerowitz, the owner of SEG, and they said, "Michael, when you go out in the octagon, you need to say if it's not in the octagon, it's not real, right?" Well, I knew as soon as he said that I was going to get a call from the people I was dealing with at WCW wrestling on a Monday, which they did. They called me on Monday. They said, "What are you doing having Michael do this rap?" And so many words that they said, right? And I said, "Look, I have a contract. He's allowed to do it. He's got a 3-fight deal. I want him to finish the deal." Michael could not have continued anyway. He was so busy with doing everything else I had him in. And then I thought, this is my world. Let me work my way into this, right? And it took me a year and a half to convince the UFC to let me become the announcer. And it all culminated in short story. Sorry if I'm getting
No
long-winded.
problem. Love it.
A fighter named Scott the Pitbull Ferrazzo. Do you remember him?
Vaguely.
Okay, he fought Tank Abbott, he fought a lot, he fought in UFC 8. He was like 6'1", arms down to his ankles, you know, 340 pounds, the perfect fighter they wanted at that time, you know, the Tank Abbott type. And I sent his tape off to Meyerowitz, and Meyer said, "Yeah, let's get him in." So I went down as his manager, but I didn't want to manage fighters. I did this as a ploy on my part because after stopping in New York and asking for the job and calling him up saying, "You need me. I have the media contacts you don't have. I'll help you build this brand. I'm a brand builder. I'll do everything I can outside of being the announcer, but I need to grow with you as the announcer to make that happen." It just all fell on deaf ears. So I brought him down, and then I said, "Listen," I called up Meyerowitz. I said, "Meyerowitz, Robert, I'm bringing my tuxedo in my bag. Let me announce the prelims. Let me show you what I got, right?" And so the night before the show, he said, "Okay, you know what? You can announce the prelims." So that's exactly what I wanted to do. That's the only reason I went down there. And I announced the prelims. I look at it now, and it's more like, you know, it's a lot different than it was today, is today. And I cut my teeth. And then I thought, okay, good, they'll call me back. Well, I kept calling. I said, "Can I announce the next one?" They go, "No, no, we're good, we're good." And they were using a Rich G. Mangoyan, super nice guy. And then I got a call. I was in the hospital with my mom. She had a serious operation, and it was like a scene from Rocky, right? And I got a call on the phone. They said, "Listen, we're doing UFC 8 in Dothan, Alabama." And was it 8? Yeah, it was 8. And I think it was Alabama. Pardon me if I forget the city. It's so many things I can't remember at times.
Puerto Rico.
No, that was Bayamon, Puerto Rico. That's the one I told you I did.
Okay,
This
okay.
is
Oh, this is before. Oh, got it, got it, got it. Got it.
yeah, this is after Bayamon. It was UFC 10.
10.
UFC 10.
Got it.
And I'm on the phone, and my mother, she's recovering, and I said, "Listen, I'll call you back. I'm dealing with a very serious situation right now." And I hung up the phone, and my mom looked at me, and she said, "That's the call you've been waiting for, right?" I said, "Yeah, Mom. They want me to go down and announce it, but I can't leave you." And she looks at me and she gives me the thumbs up like Talia Shire in the Rocky movie when she's in bed. She goes, "Go. You gotta go." All of a sudden, I hear the Rocky music going off in my head, dun dun da da dun da da dun da da dun, and boom, I'm down in Alabama in 2 days. I announce UFC 10. I think I do a good job, um, and all of a sudden, no call. They hire somebody else,
Yeah.
right? A friend of the producer, and the guy, when I watched the show, he's a little nervous in the service, going back and forth, and made a few mispronouncements, but had a good voice and everything. And I thought, well, okay, I'm still going to keep asking this job because I come from the school of if you don't ask for the job, you don't get it, right? And then they called me and they said, "Listen, we're doing a show called Friends, and we're doing the Ultimate Fighting Champion is the title of the episode, and it's with John Favreau and Tank Abbott." and they have a voiceover, but they weren't the real announcer. So Warner Brothers sent a runner down to my house to get audio and tape, and they hired me to co-star as myself on Friends. And I thought, okay, this is it. So I saw Robert Meyerowitz on the set. I said, listen, we got to meet at lunch. I need to talk to you. And I met with him, and I just hit him right in the face with it. I said, this is the last time I was going to ask. I said, Robert, I'm co-starring with myself on the biggest comedy on TV, which is the biggest publicity you've ever had for the UFC. I'm going to ask you one more time. I feel like a girl waiting to be asked for the prom, and nobody's asking me to the prom. Let me be the Octagon announcer to grow with you and help you build this brand with whatever I can bring to the table. I don't want anything for that. I just want to be the announcer and grow with you as the show. The best poker hand I ever played, Ariel. And that's where we made the deal. And it was from that point on that I continued to announce the UFC.
Unbelievable. It's inspirational, really, because you weren't told yes right away. You kept at it. You kept at it. You knew in your heart, and you weren't accepting no for an answer, which I absolutely love. Could I ask, have you thought of this? Like in a sliding doors universe, what happens if he would have said, no, we're good? What does Bruce Buffer do in his life? This has become your life. And I know you have so many other things that you do, but a lot of that came as a result of this. And yes, there's the management of your brother, but I don't know if you would have been truly fulfilled just doing that. What do you think would have been your bread and butter had he not said yes?
I've always been a marketer in terms of hawker and a schmucker. I had my first, I created a business in high school selling jewelry. I would make jewelry and sell it out of a box. And in 1974, I'm clearing, $1,000 or more, a few thousand a month, which is a lot of money back then. I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, right? And my dad, because of my father and all I learned from him and learned on my own. I had my first company when I was 19. I got into the telemarketing industry, selling things legally, not the Wolf of Wall Street stuff, that kind of thing. And I made a lot of money in the telemarketing industry, and I owned telemarketing companies. I owned an import-export company. I went up and with a partner, created a nutritional company called Herbal Care and went in direct competition against Herbalife and did well with that. I've always run and been in business. So at a point when I was 28 years old, and I met a man named Michael Buffer when I saw him on TV, because as you know, my brother and I did not grow up together, right? You know that story.
Yes, of course.
And I was very successful with two companies. I had a beach house here in California. I'm living the lifestyle of 2.5 men, minus the alcoholism. I'm having a great time. I'm doing everything, but and it's a joke, but I wasn't passionate. I was burned out, quite frankly, Ariel. And this happens. Even though I was making great money and successful and everything, I hadn't found what I truly wanted to do. And then when I would go to the events with Michael and I would see everything I was doing for him and building all of that, I basically decided at one point when I was teeter-tottering in that, I looked at him and I said, Michael, look, I'm going to sell both companies. I'm going to concentrate on managing your career. I want to trademark this phrase, let's get ready to rumble properly, and help build the brand, make you richer and more famous than you ever dreamed, make it become part of American culture. And then I got into the world of sports and entertainment. So I would have probably continued in the world of sports and entertainment had I not made this swing into the octagon, which I continued to build everything I built today from that. Because in life, as I teach, when I teach branding and marketing to entrepreneurs, I just did a appearance in Australia the other week when I was down there for the UFC with a group of about 500 entrepreneurs, who are in business and helping enhance them and teaching them more about branding and marketing. I realized that if I got in the UFC, it was my base. I would build my own career and all the things I would build out of that, the same as I had built for Michael in his career and still continue to do. So I would be in sports and entertainment.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. We've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show. I was watching your first appearance at UFC 8, and obviously, you're younger and you're a little less seasoned and all this stuff. But what I'm fascinated by is just when you felt confident to truly be yourself, because you mentioned like you're not the guy who stands in the middle reading off the cue cards. Now you're unlike anyone in the history of ring announcing. You move around. You're a part of the show, like I said, a fabric. People are are chanting along with you. Those scenes like in Brazil where they're all saying it's time. It's unlike anything, including your brother, if I'm being 100% honest. But to have the confidence to do that and to kind of own the moment takes some time. Do you remember that turning point for you when you started to finally feel like I could be myself and I could do just a little more that will separate me from everyone?
You're so damn good, Ariel. You ask the best questions, God. I've known you from when you started, right? You're
Listen, I say it all the time. I'm a kid at Syracuse University. I read an email to brucebuffer.tv, I believe it was, and you said yes. No one listened to that show, and you were one of my very first guests. This is 2001, so that's why I don't try. I don't want to make it about myself, but that's why I love you and will support you and defend you until the end of time. You don't need any defending, but you mean a lot to me. And I remember when I won my first award, you were sitting right next to me, 2010, and it was so fitting that you were the guy sitting next to me. So I love you. I truly do, and you've meant so much to me, and that's why I have such great admiration for you.
And I love you too, Ariel, for all the reasons you mentioned, and watching the evolutionary process of your career has been absolutely amazing. And kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Fantastic. What a
Thank you.
role model you are. Getting back to your question you asked, let me just preface it by saying this. I knew the UFC would be the biggest thing in fighting sports. I knew it from the beginning. I knew if I cut my teeth on this and stayed in the Roach Coach motels and the travel and paid my dues, that it would all culminate to what it would culminate into. But I also, when I got into announcing, I did not want to be considered Frank Sinatra Jr. I did not want to be considered that I was riding the coattails of my brother, because actually I'm the one that sews his coattails on in his career. I wanted to be recognized for Bruce Buffer. I want to be recognized for myself. So during the first period of time when I was announcing, of course, I'm cutting my teeth, getting into it, trying to find my space. But being the athletic person I am, the physical person that I am, I've been my whole life. I've been in martial arts. I mean, all I did when I was younger was surf and train and, go for the achievements I've done in myself in the martial arts world. Um, I knew that there was this tiger inside me that had to come out, right? And when I'm standing there as the normal announcer does, standing there with all respect to all ring announcers, it wasn't fulfilling to me, Ariel. And I told myself if I couldn't create my own style within the first 3 years of doing this, I was going to quit, because I just didn't want to, have a seat at a show. I wanted to really get into it and enjoy it. And that's when I realized that I needed to move. Okay. It's kind of like in the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Do you remember that film?
Yes, of course.
There's a scene where Paul Newman and Robert Redford are shooting. They're target shooting. And, Redford, he just can't hit the side of a wall. And he looks at Newman and he goes, "Can I move?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he moves. And all of a sudden he's hitting everything, right? And I realized this is what I needed to do. So I used to watch the great rock stars. I always enamored of the singers and the way they'd move, and Presley and what he'd do. And suddenly I just realized that when I turned and did like a 45-degree angle turn, okay, that just created more emphasis for me to emphasize fighting, to get into it. And then one night, I was in the red corner, facing the red corner, a little too much to the red corner, and I needed to announce the fighter first in the blue corner. And I'm going, introducing, and all of a sudden I did one of my favorite moves in kickboxing. Was a spinning back fist, bottom fist, whatever you want to call it. And I would spin around, and I went fighting, and the audience reacted, right? And I realized, oh wow, something's going on here. This is cool. So I just wanted to move, and when I'm announcing, these warriors, men and women both, have been training for 8 to 10 weeks for this moment of their lives. The audience, which I love, at the fans, but when I'm announcing, if you notice, I don't really hear the fans. I'm looking in the eye of the tiger. I'm looking into the fighter. And I needed to get closer to the fighter to enhance the moment for them and enhance the announcing moment for myself. And everything just built over time. And I would do other events around the world, like Inoki's Mumbai event in 2003, announcing Fedor and all the fighters that fought in that, and the King of the Cages I did. And if you remember, I was pretty much announcing all the new MMA events that came out before I became exclusive to the UFC, where I would only do UFCs. And I just thought, let me just find myself. And like everybody, including yourself, over time, you hone your tool, you hone your style. And this just became the style. And I'm not trying to be overly flamboyant. I'll say it again. The show is not about me. I'm just trying to do what I can to enhance the moment, but also, Ariel, I'm doing to enhance the moment for myself,
Mm.
right? To enjoy every night I walk out there, to give every bit of ounce of power. And it's not show business, Ariel. It's show biz. It's entertainment. if
What
that makes sense.
100%. And there's so many iconic ones, but recently with Alex Pereira and him facing off with Yuri Prochaska, the intensity there is unmatched. It's unbelievable, and the way the UFC is shooting them, it's amazing. And you're in the middle of all of that. Like there's literally four people in the cage. I mean, maybe a cameraman or two, but you get the point. Can you even describe what that feels like to be center stage as these two guys are locking, eyes? They are not moving. They are stoic, and you're in there and adding so much to that moment, and yet they're just not budging.
It's it's a feeling and it's an intensity that's hard to describe unless you're standing with me.
Mm.
I wish sometime I could have like a GoPro on my shoulder
Oh
so you can
yeah.
see what I see. And when you realize the intensity of those two fighters in that given night, they're like two elks in National Geographic that are about to come together. If you remember that great thing that you see in
Oh
the old
yeah.
National Geographics. And this is the feeling I get. These are warriors. This is an intense moment. This is the most primal moment you can find in fighting when they're about to go at it, or times when fighters will walk across the octagon and the commission doesn't even get between them. The referee, with all respect, they're not between, it's me, and I find myself getting between them. And again, I'm not trying to create a show. I'm trying to like govern that octagon a little bit so it doesn't get out of hand, as it has a couple times in the past, in past history. And it's just you hit it. It's just intense. It's hard for me to actually put into words, but I still have to keep my announcing going. I've still got to finish what I'm doing, right? At that moment. And it just creates these incredible moments that I think live in infamy in highlight reels, right? Which again, I don't go in with the purpose of doing that. That's not
Yeah,
who I
no,
am.
no. No, it
I'm
all
just
feels very
reacting.
natural. It's not forced at
Yeah.
all. It's a Monday. You're doing Seattle on Saturday. What is the week like for you? Like, what's the prep like? And how do you go about? You say everyone's name correctly. I love one of my favorite things to watch. I don't know how you do this and how you practice, but like you have the cards and then you flip them behind you when you're done. I don't know how that works so perfectly every time, but just I'm just curious about the whole like week long process to get to Saturday. When you start working on Saturday's show, getting everything down, everything that you need.
Well, the UFC is a very fine, well-oiled machine. So as I'm sure with John Anik and DC and Joe and Michael Bisbing and Dom, everybody else that works the show, I get audio files,
Hmm.
or shall I say, we all get audio files where they send us audio files of the fighters saying their names. And what I do, if you ever look at my fight cards, is the name at the bottom is not written exactly. Let's say, like Habib Nurmagomedov, when I first started announcing him, yeah, I write it phonetically, right, and
Mm-hmm.
space it apart. I do not rehearse because there's a rehearser voice and then there's a real organic voice. And I want to be organic. I want to be in the moment. But what I do is when I'm writing the cards, my prep time for my cards takes anywhere from 2 to 3 hours or more. And I can write them down. I have everything down. And just like in school when I would study, I'm actually absorbing everything on the card. If you notice, I rarely ever read my cards unless I'm reading sponsors and judges' names and stuff like that. I have an ability now where I could be standing there and the card could be up here, the card could be down here, and I can just glance at it and make sure that Chuck Waddell's 6'2" before I say it if I happen to forget.
Mm.
And I highlight everything on the card. So that's how I prepare the cards. That usually is takes me anywhere between by Wednesday of that week I have the cards done because I have to get in the air on Wednesday night for international or Friday I'll fly in for domestic shows. And the producer will send me the bout sheets, which by Wednesday I've got the rankings. By Wednesday I've got the sponsors that I need to add to the cards. So I get all that together. The rest of the week for me, aside from all I have to do for my other business ventures that I do during the week, um, I train. I want to be in shape. I want to be ready to go. I want to be flexible. I want to be totally mindset for the show. I get my rest. And the night before a show, where in the younger days, maybe I go out, party, have a good time, go a little crazy or whatever. I'm very conservative the night before a show. I want to be totally 100% ready to go,
Mm.
ready to be on target, ready to do what I'm hired to do, what I'm paid to do, and what I'm supposed to do, which is do my job and be prepared. So I'm spending that week getting ready, not like a fighter getting ready for a fight, but I'm basically getting ready mentally, physically, and statistically and technically for the show for everything I need to do. So when I go there, I'm set. I'm locked in. I'm ready.
And so, all right. So you mentioned, you want to do this for as long as you can be yourself. Turning 68, I do believe, in May. Have you given yourself a cap? Like, okay, when I'm, I don't know, X years old, I just want to chill. I don't want to travel as much. Have you allowed yourself to even go there yet?
There'll come a time where, like, for instance, there's like 40 shows a year, whatever it is for UFC, 35, 40, whatever. There's a gentleman named Joe Martinez that fills in for me that does a great job, when I'm not doing the shows. I do anywhere from like 25 to, 28 shows a year now, give or take. And there could come a time where maybe it goes down to maybe, a couple shows a month, whatever. I could see doing less shows maybe in the future a little bit, but I still enjoy what I do. I mean, there's times when maybe I'm hit with a schedule like going from Saudi Arabia to Sydney, Australia, which, as much as I wanted to be in Saudi Arabia for that card and for the fighters, and for His Excellency, who does a great job with the UFC, I just realized that was going to be a torturous couple of weeks, and I had a lot to take care of. I couldn't be away for 2 weeks at that time. So if you ask me what the hardest part of my job is, Ariel, it's the travel.
Hmm.
That's the hardest part. I mean, if we could invent that Star Trek machine that, they press a button and boom, I'm telepathically, whatever the term is, sent, across the world, that'd be great, but that's not happening. So, in answer to your question, again, sorry, getting a little long-winded. Listen, Michael's 80 years old and he's traveling, still doing boxing. Now, the big thing for me is that Michael does one event a night, maybe two, but mostly just one event a night. I'm announcing 12 to 14 fights a night.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as, again, I'll say it again, as long as mentally and physically I can do it the way I like to do it, I will do it as long as I can do it. And if that takes me to 80 years old or longer, then so be it. I got to stay in shape, Ariel.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look fantastic. I do wonder if one day you get to that Joe Rogan schedule of just pay-per-views. Like, it's a big fight, it's Bruce Buffer time. Would you like that? Do you foresee that? Because I also kind of feel like, honestly, if they said, we want you at every single show, you would find a way. You strike me as a workaholic who wants to be everywhere. And so I do wonder how you balance those two feelings.
Well, I am. I mean, Dana once said he'd have to shoot me to keep me out, or
Yes.
Dana or John said to shoot me to keep me out of the octagon, or Dana said I would get out of my, deathbed to get into the octagon. No, I said you'd have to shoot me to keep me out of the octagon. I could see a point where, maybe a fight night and a pay-per-view,
Yeah.
2 shows a month. I could also see at times where maybe it could go down to just the pay-per-views, but it's all, listen, I work for the UFC. I'm a loyal soldier. Okay. They point, I shoot. So if they say it's cool to do only a pay-per-view when it comes down to that time, if that's all I want to do, then fine. Otherwise, I could see a fight night and a pay-per-view, at least 2 shows a month to continue. Definitely.
And it's not just this. Let's see if I got it all. Host of the It's Time podcast, along with the great TJ DeSantis. We see the logo right over there. You're very active on Cameo. Tremendous stuff. I'm sure people love that. There you go.
Yeah, the cameo, I got to tell you, I get tears in my eyes from the cameos, I'll do for the birthdays, birth of babies, all that,
can't
weddings.
imagine.
Oh, I do. Would you believe I do like 5 or 10 weddings a week?
Wow.
And it's not off Cameo, because aside from my Cameo page where you can order all the videos, people write me at brucebuffer.com, because we don't do weddings on Cameo, because when I do weddings, I get in a tuxedo in front of a green screen, and I can put anything behind me on the green screen they want. And we do all the weddings out of my office through brucebuffer.com, along with a ton of other videos for personal and for business. But the thank you notes that we get, my partner, Kristen, who I built this business with for the last 27 years, she and I, we do this, and it brings tears to our eyes, Ariel. You should see some of the thank you notes we get and how happy it is. Sure, I got to charge some coin for it, and believe me, I could charge a lot more. And I don't mean that egotistically. It's just I try to keep it affordable for everybody because we like making people happy.
Oh, I know. It's an amazing thing. I've seen some of those videos. People have shared them with me. They've gone viral. So I hope that you keep doing that. Puncher's Chance Bourbon, It's Time Energy Drink, It's Time Cologne. Am I missing something? Look at that.
No, thank you. That's my new Iconic coming out. That's the top sellers on Amazon. It's Time Energy is being released all over the country right now. I'm very proud of it because I don't have the crappy taurine in it, which a lot of others do. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that about others, but I'm trying to keep this as good in quality as I can, which my partners out of England and I have. Very proud of the It's Time Energy. The cologne it's unreal, Ariel. Have I sent you one yet?
I don't believe so, and perhaps that's what's missing in my life. Perhaps this is the reason why, maybe I need a little spark. I could have used it for Valentine's Day, Bruce, if I'm being honest.
Yes,
That's the
big
thing.
seller and big seller on Amazon and Valentine's Day. Do me a favor, have your producer send me an address so I can get you a little package. I'll
Thank you.
get you the energy drink and all that stuff.
I appreciate
And
that.
and the Puncher's Chance bourbon, I'm
Oh, yes.
proud
That
of
one
it.
I have. That one I have, and I've tried it. Yes.
I did get you this.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Where's that camera? There you go. Oh, that's
Okay.
my new one, Warrior Spirit.
What's the
That's
difference?
limited. Well, actually, I have 6 different types now. I've got a 12-year, 14-year reserve, a single barrel, an Irish whiskey. But the Warrior Spirit is the same juice that's in the original,
Oh,
which
okay.
has been called the top 5 best-selling bourbon in America. Top 5
Wow.
best quality bourbon in America at its price range. It's around $30. Very, very proud about that. So what we did was we wanted to make a bottle that was around my attitude towards life, which is Warrior Spirit, which is what the Warrior Spirit bottle is you just showed. It's the same juice, but it's in that bottle. There's only 2,000 cases made, which will make it a collector's item. And I'm a big collector of memorabilia. So I wanted to put something out there that had like a very specific collector's value to it.
It's beautiful.
And it's doing great. It's doing great. Very proud about it.
And
Very
by the
proud.
way, congratulations to your Philadelphia Eagles. I heard you tell a great story that you recorded the game. You were flying home from Sydney, and then the freaking pilot spoiled it for you. Were you annoyed in that moment or happy? Your team wins, but you did everything to avoid the spoilers.
Well, I knew that somewhere going through the airport, I could do this all the way through the airport, but somehow it was going to get to me.
Yeah.
So I just thought, please don't announce it. Don't announce it. So I go, okay, great. But when I got home and I watched it and it was recorded, it was such, if you're a Philadelphia fan, it was such an incredible game with all respect to the Kansas City Chiefs. They just demolished them. I mean, they totally took them down. It was very, very entertaining, but I was ready.
Yes. Thank you, Bruce. What a great honor that was for me. My favorite team, the Buffalo Bills, asked me to do this video, and then all of a sudden I see the finished product, and then you're involved in it, and you blow me out of the water, of course, when it comes to this sort of thing. But I was like, wow, who would have thought? Bruce and I hyping up the Bills. We won that game, and I told them afterwards, I think we need to come back for the AFC Championship. They didn't call me. I don't know if they called you, and we all know what happened. So we were the good luck charm as far as I'm concerned going into that Ravens game. That was such a thrill to be a part of that with you.
It was a real thrill to be a part of it. It was actually a real thrill when I realized you were part of it too. 'Cause I thought, wow, how the great 6 degrees of separation happen and we come together. And knowing that the Bills are your team, and they're so cool at the Bills office, Joshua and all those guys. And there's a little scuttlebutt about working with them next year, which I'd be very, very proud to do.
That would be amazing.
My brother announces the Eagles games, and that's all great. But no, I would like me. I was the voice of the Raiders. I was coming out at all the Raider games when they went to Allegiant Stadium. And I did that for a couple of seasons. And then because I announced them like they're world champions and they weren't winning so much, they want to, I think they want to hold me back until they start winning, more so. But I got to tell you, I love appearing at football games. Being at the Raider game was great. If I ever get a chance to come out at Buffalo Bills Stadium, that'd be awesome. And when I do, believe me, I'm going to be on the phone to you, and I hope you're there.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I saw you at the F1 with your brother. Anytime you guys pop up, it's always so fun. Yeah, there you guys are over there. It's like, yeah, there's our guy representing us.
Well, I've been doing Formula One since they started in Vegas. It's only been 2 years, and I did it myself the first year. And then Michael and I have never worked together like that at a huge event. So that was quite a moment for both of us to be there, and it was very cool. That's an amazing event.
Love you, Bruce. You're the man. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for your support towards me, but more importantly, thank you for everything that you do for the events. Like I said, wouldn't be the same without you. I don't want to think of what the UFC would be without you. You add so much, and I just love those videos when everyone's going, it's time, and they're literally saying everything that you're saying. That just shows no one has that. No one has accomplished that. You're a part of the fabric. You're a part of the DNA. You're a part of what makes the UFC such a special event, a special production. People go to the events hoping to see the fighters, but hoping to see you as well. And you know that. It's a beautiful thing. So I hope you get to do do it for 120 more years, and then we get to hear those pipes and see those moves, see those hips gyrating, the whole bit for many more years to come.
I'll be tossing that card like a ninja star for many years to come. I promise you, Ariel, and your kind words mean so much to me. I'm humbled by them, and thank you. And thank you to all the great fans out there that support both of us, because without the fans, we're nothing. And I'm all about the fans, and I'm all about the fighters. And it's an honor to be on your show. It's an honor to live this life. Mazel tov to you.
Yes, thank you. 29 years. Let's go.
29.
We'll go for a big 30 next year, and then another 70.
There you go. Big cheers, no fears forever, my friend, and warrior spirit. Like I tell everybody on my podcast, be the best you can be, whether you're first, second, 10th, or whatever. If you're the best you can be, you're winning, and be a role model to your sphere of influence, because in this world in which we live right now, we need role models. We need positive energy. We need positive influence. So God bless everybody. God bless you, Ariel, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
Much love, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Safe travels to Seattle. To the one and only Bruce Buffer. What an absolute legend and a Hall of Famer. That is, I mean, that could have happened 10 years ago, but, they can wait many more years until he calls it a day. Salt of the earth. A true mensch. An absolute mensch. His brother as well. Love catching up with Bruce. And we need to do it more often. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.